Planescape Torment, the Unofficial audio series. A narrative let's play adapted and produced by RevocerGM. Combining in-game audio with additional voice acting through dialogue and descriptions to improve your listening experience. Rediscover the amazing story of the 1999 cult classic isometric video game, Planescape Torment, like you've never heard before. Your mind races as you lie in the itchy cot at Arlo's flophouse. Flashes from your fight with the one-eared tiefling. The feeling of power as blood and water boiled around you.
You will be a master sorcerer one day, ye will. You have the knowing of it yet.
Mebeth's words echo in your thoughts. You have no idea who you were, nor what you were capable of. Dakon's preaching philosophy of knowing oneself feels further than ever, and your hand draws to the stone he entrusted you, the unbroken circle of Zerthamon. This small round stone is made up of a series of interlocking circles that fold out from one another. The complexity of the plates and the intricacy of their links prove the text was constructed by a master artisan. You mirror the motions that Dakon made upon the circle, and the plates give way at your touch, the rings sliding into a new configuration. Upon the rings are a series of symbols. The script is like no writing you have ever seen. It is a series of interlocking geometries with circles predominating. You know the symbols, and despite their strangeness, you know you can read them. Know that we are the first people. Once, all was chaos. The first people were thought drawn from chaos. When the first people came to know themselves, they were chaos no longer, and became flesh. With their thoughts and knowing of matter, the people shaped the first world and dwelled there with their knowing to sustain them. Yet the flesh was new to the people, and with it, the people came not to know themselves. The flesh gave rise to new thoughts, greed and hates, pains and joys, jealousies and doubts. All of these fed on each other, and the minds of the people were divided. In their division, the people were punished. The emotions of the flesh were strong. The greed and hates, the pains and joys, the jealousies and doubts. All of these served as a guiding stone to enemies. In becoming flesh, the first people became enslaved to those who knew flesh only as tools for their will. No, these beasts were the Illithids. The Illithids were a race that had come not to know themselves. They had learned how to make other races not know themselves. They were the tentacled ones. They lived in flesh and saw flesh as tools for the will. Their blood was as water, and they shaped minds with their thoughts. When the Illithids came upon the people were a people no more. The people became slaves. The Illithids took the people from the first world and brought them to the false worlds. As the people labored upon the false worlds, the Illithids taught them the way of flesh. Through them, the people came to know loss. They came to know suffering. They came to know death, both of the body and the mind. They came to know what it is to be the herd of another and have their flesh consumed. They came to know the horror of being made to feel joy in such things. The unbroken circle is the knowing of how the people lost themselves. and how they came to know themselves again. You slide the plates closed and seal the circle. Close your eyes and drift into sleep. Upon waking, you find Dakon already risen. His blade, like a ribbon, twists around his shoulders as he sits in silent contemplation. Good morning, Dakon. Hail. Hail. I've read the Unbroken Circle of Zerthamon. I wish to speak to you more about the people. What did you come to know? I learned that your people were once slaves to the Illithids. It seems they committed many crimes against you. Dakon's forehead creases into a frown, and then relaxes slightly, as he sighs with what you think is relief. But beyond that, the circle spoke of suffering and strength. Strength lies in knowing oneself. I learned that once someone does not know themselves, they are lost. They become a tool for others. As you say these words, you notice Dakon's shoulders tighten, and the tension returns to his face. You not only see the words of Zerthamon, you have come to know them. You have come to know the first circle of Zerthamon. Dakon takes up the circle and hooks his fingers around the edges. Again, there is a click, and the plates of the circle slide into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, sealing the stone once again. No, the second circle of Zerthamon is open to you. Study it. Then I will hear your words. Very well. I will read it, then seek your counsel again. Last night, I felt the power of the weave. It was different to how I expected. Something beyond my control. The pain, the anger, fueled something that I didn't understand. The more you can know of yourself, the greater your power will become. In the meantime, there are dangers in using the art without understanding. Study the circle, know the way of the people, and temper your art with discipline. The rain from the previous night has scoured the streets, leaving pale cobbles channeled by thick gouts of mud caking along the gutters. On the corner, outside the flophouse, you see a tall, lithe woman in padded, weather-beaten travel gear. She's feeding a strange two-headed hound tethered by a leash. Upon noticing you, the bizarre creature whines and barks, its tail wagging. The elven woman squints at you.
Morik? Is that you?
Perhaps.
I thought you said you'd never return to Sickle. If Amatale finds out you've returned, you're a dead man. In any case, I still have that scroll you lent me. Here, just take it back and leave me before we sing together.
She hastily presses a leather-bound cylinder into your chest. But...
Please. I'm glad to see you're okay, but we can't be singing together again.
Both maws of the slathering dog begin licking at your hands. Hey, buddy.
No!
She yanks the leash and drags the hound away from you.
Hey, Chief. At least someone seems to like who you were, even if it is just some mutt.
Come on, let's go.
Where are we going?
I don't know. Make some friends. Perhaps even earn some coin. Navigating the twisted streets, you find Porphyron, the warrior monk who you agreed to help with his stolen necklace. He is still sat, grimly in the same spot on the street, paying no heed to passers-by. The web of lines on his face are staggered into a series of right angles. This one addresses you, Porphyron. As you speak, the angles in Porphyron's face relax into a series of curves.
This one would ask, do you have the neck rope of beads that was stolen?
I think so. Is this it?
This one sees what you hold. Those are the beads once missing.
He takes them from you, and you notice his hands have the same tracery of lines upon them as his face.
This one has a question. How did you get the beads from the three?
I purchased them.
This one would know. One who fights with coin carries a name in the Order of Eritage.
Porphyron's face breaks into angles again.
Those ones are called merchants. It is a path without discipline and without honor.
If you were a true warrior, you would learn to use every weapon at your disposal.
This one bestows apologies. This one meant no offense.
The angles on Porphyron's face sharpen acutely, then slowly curve into ripples.
This one bestows several welcome thanks for your service. Yes?
You're welcome, I think. I have a question for you, though. If you cannot enter combat, how did you get your warrior training?
This one clarifies. The Eritage may train with one when there is no anger between them.
I see. Could you train me?
This one could instruct you, yes, but this one warns you. With knowledge of violence comes temptation to use it.
I sure hope so.
This one will instruct, though we are limited by time and situation.
He rises to his feet and squares himself to you. He's a full foot shorter than you, but his stature seems greater somehow, grounded and confident. The lines on his face fold into triangles.
These things comprise the angles of our training. Focus, experience, proficiency. This one will speak of focus first. For teaching to take root, you must have focus. The path of the warrior cannot be walked with an unfocused mind.
Understood.
This one will speak of experience second. True knowledge of combat comes only with experience. And third, this one will speak of proficiency. Knowledge of the weapon comes in stages. The ignorant, when one does not know the weapon they use, the attack is clumsy, the effect less than its potential.
That sounds like me when I awoke in the mortuary. Never mind. Please, go on.
When one has learned a weapon, he is said to be proficient in its use. His attacks are no longer clumsy. They come swiftly and surely.
Go on.
Finally, the level of the specialist is this. When one goes beyond proficiency, the weapon is no longer tool, but extension of will.
All right. So, what can you teach me of using the weapons?
This one is trained in the hand, the blade, the stave, the hatchet, and the smiter. Of which would you know first?
You hold up your hand, gripping the green steel knife from the mortuary. How about we start with this?
One who would use the dagger. It strikes swiftly like a viper, like the slash of a claw or the piercing of a needle. This one will instruct you. First, stand like so.
He briefly guides you through a series of stances and maneuvers. Your arms and feet move as if by instinct, and within minutes, you have matched the monk's strikes, parrying his blows and countering with ease.
This one compliments you. The knowledge comes to you swiftly. You take instruction well. Your skill surpasses that which this one can teach without proper space and equipment. If you want to walk this path to your full potential, I suggest you seek another for proper training.
Thank you, I guess. Take care, Porphyron.
This one thanks you. You have shown this one kindness where others have shown none.
You find your way back to the square by the mortuary with relative ease. It's here where you met Ingress. You hope to find her again and tell her of Candrian and his willingness to help her home. The streets around the square are busy. Laden carts roll up to the mortuary gates, and a vanguard of brutish mercenaries preceding an armored wagon drawn by haggard beasts disperse the hivers in their path, barking warnings as they rumble over the cobblestones. At the memorial stands a lone woman, cradling a bunch of shredded rags in her hands and staring emptily at the wall of the monument, at the names scribed there. Her face looks broken. She is heavily bruised and covered in scratches. They look like bite marks and fingernail cuts. She jumps as she notices your presence.
Get you back!
The woman's lips peel back, displaying a row of jet black fangs.
What you want of Sivtai?
What's the matter? Are you hurt?
What's the matter? The matter is those cursed Chaos men wrecked my cart, attacked me, and killed 3 of my sisters who tried to stop them. Not sisters anymore, now there's nothing but names on this wall.
Chaos Men.
Chaos men. A faction, they says. What they are is an adult bunch that runs wild through the Hive and does whatever they please. We never did no harm to them. Then they lope in like dogs and tear apart anything within their reach.
Who are these Chaos Men who attacked you?
They're a Hive gang. A bunch of adult swords that call themselves the starved dogs barking or some such balmy nonsense.
I'm sorry about your sisters.
Your apologies won't bring them back, scarred man.
I understand. If you wish, I can see that the matter is rectified. Their actions were unjust.
Unjust? Pah!
She spits at the floor.
No amount of justice can repay their crimes. More than just my sisters' names are carved here under their blades.
I can't act upon the others. But for you, if 3 deaths they caused, then 3 deaths shall these starved dogs suffer.
A trinket for your purse if you pen 3 of those murdering swords in the dead book, Jig.
I'll see to it. Where might they be found?
Go out the Primer's Gate, downward from here. Then walk around the block until you comes to the place by the painted door, where men run in circles, howling at the sick sky. There's the starved dogs. There.
All right. I'll find them.
Meets me here tomorrow for peak. If you don't return, I'll have your name scratched here on the wall. Scarred man.
No need, Seftai. Tomorrow, then.
I hope so.
With that, she takes up the bundle of torn clothes and leaves the memorial. It doesn't take you long to find Ingress. She is huddled inside a cloak of dirty rags, nestled at the base of one of the strange, unmarked monuments, her teeth chattering uncontrollably. She glances furtively about her as if expecting to be attacked at any moment. Ingress, I have good news. She squints at you.
Yes. What is it you want of me now? You want me to leave? No!
Ingress, wait. I found someone who can take you back to your home plane. Ingress falls silent.
You found someone? Ayudar? Someone to help Ingress?
Yes. Someone who I believe can help you find the right portal.
Quiero irme. I want to go. Want to leave this place.
His name is Candrian. Trust him, all right? Ingress says nothing, merely nods quietly, her teeth chattering inside her mouth. He should be here shortly. I can wait if you like.
No. You've done enough for me. Thank you.
All right. Be strong, Ingress. You pass under the great arches of the Primer's Gate and walk towards the smoldering corpse bar. The starved dogs Seftai has set you on should be nearby, though you feel such a task is more suited to the darker hours of Sigil. And so, head for a little respite, and perhaps wait for news from Candrian. Once again, the blast of heat overwhelms you as you enter the smoldering corpse. though it is quieter here than last time. Barkis saunters over as you lean against the bar.
I was worried Eb's flowing words may have driven you off for good, Carter. What can I get you?
Dakon, anything particular you like? His eyes flicker momentarily, and his face relaxes its usual stoic expression.
A bottle of the mint wine, please. And 2 glasses, Barkis.
Mort clears his throat. All 3 of you look to him in unison.
Whatever. Just nice to be involved every now and then. One moment.
As Barkis goes to fetch the bottle, a short elven woman sidles over to the bar and leans next to you. A cloud of smoke trails behind her as she smears the end of a thick cigar straight into the bar top. Her deep brown eyes are sunken, and her arms are covered in fading bruises. A look of despair is etched into her ageless features. She turns slowly to face you, and life pours out from this person as if there's nothing they have not seen nor done, and a spark of sardonic light dances in her eyes, drawing you in.
Welcome to the smoldering corpse, scarred man. Buy a gal a drink?
Sure. Who are you?
I am Drusilla. And you must be clueless. Don't ask me how I know that. It just shines off you.
Shines. Right. Drusilla. Barkis said you're the one to ask about that creature burning in the entranceway. That despair you saw in her face before flits across it again like a black-winged shadow before she masters herself.
That creature is Ignis. One of the greatest wizards ever to come out of this slummy excuse for a cesspool. They caught him, and they opened a channel to the plane of fire through him. And now he's just a doorway for it, keeping himself alive by force of will alone. If someone could just douse him for a few moments, it'd give him his life back again, but they don't make enough water to do that.
What's your connection to him?
Here you go.
Barkis returns with a bottle of the mint wine and sets glasses out for all of you, including Drusilla. Immediately, she pours herself a glass of the pale green liquid and takes a long, slow sip.
I was Ignis's lover. We both loved the flame, though he loved it more than I did. But now I watch his beauty as he rides in the heart of the fire. And I, Drusilla, love them equally.
Someone should be able to find something. Some way to douse him, as you say.
Aye, traveler. He's imprisoned in this place, cruelly bound here in this fiery torment. I hate this place. So, what is it you seek?
Well, I'm looking for a journal, I suppose. Would you happen to have seen it?
A journal? Oh, sure. Yeah, I've kept an eye out for all stray journals just in case some scarred man walks into my favorite bar and starts asking about it. Do you ask that of everyone you meet? Oh, what a fascinating life.
Far more so than yours, I'd wager.
Oh, is that so? Have you been in love with a living flame? Have you ever wanted to vanish utterly into the arms of another, to lose yourself in the heat of passion? Your eyes tell me that you wish you had, but you've had no luck. Don't talk to me about fascinating. Scars ain't fascinating. Fights ain't fascinating. Tough ain't fascinating. You ain't fascinating.
Where should I start? I'm immortal. I lose my memory every time I die. I have a floating skull for a sidekick. I'm having experiences that would make most mortals scream their souls out through their eyeballs, and you're telling me that being in love with a fire is fascinating. That's not fascinating. That's just insane. She recoils suddenly and looks at you more closely. Excitement creeps into her voice.
You're him, aren't you? You're him!
What do you mean?
He said you'd come.
He said you're the one who'll set him free. He spoke to me in a dream and told me that you'd come with an ocean of water to balance him so he could burn across the plains. Free him. Please, save him. You're totally over the edge. Farewell. Her words strike at your heart and make you feel incredibly uneasy. Surely there's no truth to it. You grab the bottle and find a table. Sidekick, eh? Sorry.
No, I'm just glad you didn't say familiar.
Well, it's just a big rat hive in the eyes of the Planeborn.
What do you mean?
Do you think any of the powers really find this important?
What does that have to do with Sigil?
This is a place humans feel important. We're insignificant in the grand scheme. We're rats.
No, you are a rat. The planes let you be as big as you want. Obviously, you don't want to be.
I don't know why I bother talking to you.
Neither do I.
The pair on the table next to you are clearly in the heat of an argument. One has a look of wonder and slight disbelief etched across her face. When she catches you eavesdropping, she snaps her attention over to you.
Do you need something?
What do you want, Cutter? My apologies. I couldn't help but overhear. What was that you two were saying about Sigil? My cousin has recently come here from her backwater prime world. She labors under this delusion that this is the center of the multiverse, and she thinks it's somehow important.
Okay, so this isn't the center of the multiverse, despite it being located smack in the middle of the Outlands. Despite it being the focal point of portals from all over the cosmos, there isn't a known place with more. Despite all the quarreling the gods do over it, despite the sheer variety and concentration of power that accumulates here, there is no place like this in the cosmos, and she's telling me it's nothing special. Ha!
I've lived here my whole life. I know otherwise. It's a place the powers and Planeborn overlook, just as humans overlook the squirrels in their city parks. It's not important. And the sooner people come to realize they're not important, the better off they'll be. Perhaps you both have elements of truth.
Perhaps you're correct, but I find such relativism is often beyond me. Either the place is important, or it is not. Paradox may fuel the planes, but there must be sense to it somehow.
I hope so. Who are you both?
I'm Kiaris Thorntongue. I'm here with my cousin because my uncle doesn't want me wandering the Hive on my own.
Our uncle, a renowned wizard, brought her here to expand her horizons.
And he doesn't seem to think I'm competent on my own. He may be right, though. I don't know this city or this plane very well.
You're from the Prime.
Visiting. The Prime is a fine place to live, but it's a little too real, I suppose. My uncle gives each of his nieces and nephews a few years in the plains and allows us to remain here if we so desire. I think I might so desire. I am fascinated and repelled. But then I suppose that's the nature of the plains, isn't it?
I'm Kalayan Irontoes. Before you ask, I got the name because one of my idiot brothers dropped a 40-kilo stone on my feet and crushed my toes. Now I have iron toes, all right? I live in the ladies' ward with my uncle. It's generally a better class of person there, if I say so myself. Very well. None of the riffraff that you see floating around here so much. No, I'd say that coming to this area is definitely slumming. I can't say that I enjoy it, but then I'm told one should experience a wide variety of life's offerings. I'm just about done with this one.
Kalayan, enough about us. Who are you?
Funny. That's not a question I can answer all that well. I have forgotten much of my past. In fact, I'm looking for a journal that I hope contains some answers.
Amnesia? Fascinating.
Curious. It's all right. I suppose it is a little.
Sorry, I'm new in town, and I can assure you I haven't seen anything that I'd recognize as a journal. Though I am told that there are cases where something that appears to be a person could, in actuality, be the journal for some other creature. I'm still trying to get my head around the philosophy here. It's a little overwhelming. But they say if you stick with it, it becomes much easier.
Well, that's a relief. I sympathize with your plight. Journals are the very essence of identity. They keep us aware of our past and help us map our futures.
I'm in the habit of keeping an up-to-date journal myself, and I find I am a happier person because of it.
What can you tell me about this place?
From what I can see, it's a dive where scum mixes with cream to create an entirely unappetizing new flavor. Of course, being from the Prime, my perceptions might be jaundiced.
My greenhorn, clueless prime cousin has been brought here to see some of the sights, smells, and sounds of Sigel's beauties. So far, as you can see, she remains unimpressed.
Oh, there's some things of interest. That Ignis there. He attempted to burn down a portion of the city some time back, centuries, and was punished by being turned into a living flame. A nasty fate, but fitting for a known pyromaniac and arsonist.
They made him a conduit to the elemental plane of fire, and now he has to writhe there for folks' amusement. Not too amusing, but interesting, certainly.
From what I have read, it'd be best to leave him well alone.
If you've just arrived, how do you know so much about the place?
Well, I wanted to be sure I was ready for the trip, and so I prepared myself extensively. I probably know more about this city than my cousin here, who's lived in this city her entire life.
My cousin here is merely showing the arrogance I've come to
Arrogance?
expect from all primers who venture into this cage of ours.
Cage? No, see,
Look, I'm sorry I interrupted. I should leave you two to it.
I told... No, it's you.
You leave the pair alone as they continue to pick at each other for some time and find a quiet table in the corner of the bar. The mint wine is cloyingly sweet, coating your tongue with an herbaceous syrup. Then, after a few seconds, it dissolves away, leaving your mouth feeling cold and a little numb. Before Darkon takes a sip of his, he unravels a pouch of pipeweed and packs a pinch into a short, stubby pipe carved grimly into the shape of a tentacled head. He proceeds to smoke in silence, occasionally sipping the green liqueur. His glaive rests at his side, the blade swirling gently, like smoke on the surface of a pond. You take out the carved stone of Zerthamon's scriptures and slide the plates again as Darkon showed you, and a new ring is revealed. Know that flesh cannot mark steel. Know that steel may mark flesh. In knowing this, Zerthamon became free. Know that the tentacled ones were made of flesh. They relied on the flesh and used it as tools for their will. One of the places where flesh served their will was the fields of husks on the false worlds of the Illithids. The fields were where the bodies of the people were cast after the Illithids had consumed their brains. When the brain had been devoured, the husks came to be fertilizer to grow the poison-stemmed grasses of the Illithids. Zerthamon worked the fields with no knowing of himself or what he had become. He was a tool of flesh, and the flesh was content. It was upon these fields that Zerthamon came to know the scripture of steel. During one of the turnings, as Zerthamon tilled the fields with his hands, he came across a husk whose brain remained within it. It had not been used as food, yet it was dead. The thought that one of the husks had died a death without serving as food for the Illithids was a thought Zerthamon had difficulty understanding. From that thought came a desire to know what had happened to the husk. Embedded in the skull of the husk was a steel blade. It had pierced the bone. Zerthamon realized that was what had killed the husk. The steel had marked the flesh, but the flesh had not marked the steel. Zerthamon took the blade and studied its surface. In it, he saw his reflection. It was in the reflection of the steel that Zerthamon first knew himself. Its edge was sharp, its will the wielder's. It was the blade that would come to be raised against Gith when Zerthamon made the pronouncement of two skies. Zerthamon kept the blade for many turnings, and many were the thoughts he had about it. He used it in the fields to aid his work. In using it, he thought about how it was not used. The Illithids were powerful. Zerthamon believed that there was nothing that they did not know. Yet the Illithids never carried tools of steel. They only used flesh as tools. Everything was done through flesh, for the tentacled ones were made of flesh, and they knew flesh. Yet steel was superior to flesh. When the blade had killed the husk, it was the flesh that had been weaker than the steel. It was then that Zerthamon came to know that flesh yielded to steel. In knowing that, he came to know that steel was stronger than the Illithids. Steel became the scripture of the people. Know that steel is the scripture by which the people came to know freedom. You place the stone down onto the table and carefully slide it over to Dakon. A wisp of blue smoke curls about him as he empties his pipe and gives you his full attention. What did you come to know? His coal-black eyes peer at you over the brim of his glass. I learned that not knowing something can be a tool, just like flesh and steel. If, upon encountering it, you attempt to know its nature and how it came to be, you have seen the words, and you have seen beyond them. You have come to know the second circle of Zerthamon. He takes the circle, and with a deft motion, he twists one of the links so that a plate slides forth. But strangely enough, the stone still appears intact. He slides the plate back over the table. Meditate upon this teaching, and the knowing of it shall give you strength, bringing focus to your movements, purpose to your direction. Very well. I'll study it. Yet I would still know more of Zerthamon's teachings. Dakon's fingers feel around the edges of the stone circle, and he twists it clockwise, the links clicking until they have settled into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, resetting the stone once again, and places it back into your palm. The next circle of Zerthamon is open to you. Study it, as you have done the last. Very well. There are other things I would know, Dakon. Dakon waits. I had some questions about the Githzerai language. He remains silent. Can you teach me the ways in which your people speak? Know that the speech of the people has its foundation in history. All things are a story to us. Metaphor is a tool and an inspiration to the strength. Know when we speak of Torig's table, we remember that Torig was noted for his hospitality and goodwill. When we speak of Selkind's heart, we recall the lecherous and cruel nature of Selkind. I think I understand. Will you teach me? Dakon begins teaching you some of the common forms of speech, and the three of you exchange phrases and colloquialisms until they begin to feel familiar. A wise man is said to have wrote the Book of the Anarchs, while to accuse another of treason is to remember Vilkwar's eye. Vilkwar's eye. It is said of generous people that their cupboards are bare. How about introducing yourself? Common greetings include, "Hail, Swordringer," and "Zerkai's kin bow to you," to which one should respond, "And the traveler is pleased." Dakon is a skilled teacher. After an hour or so of his instruction, you feel capable of exchanging at least a few proper greetings with other Githzerai. As you conclude your lesson, you notice Kandrian enter and slump onto the same table as before, overlooking the rest of the bar. He quickly stands as you approach him. Once again, you are struck by the insubstantial nature of this man's existence. And once again, you are riveted as he turns his pale blue eyes upon you. Ah, Seeker. Have your travels brought fortune? I'm making progress. I saw Ingress this morning. I told her she could trust you. Did you manage to find her? He releases a long sigh and smiles warmly. Yes, she's home. No doubt things have changed a little since she left, but she survived here long enough. I can't imagine she'll have too much trouble making it there. Thank you. That's incredible, really. You did a good thing caring for her, Seeker. Not many would stop and look to help a keyless here in Sigil. Be wary. This city is the definition of neutrality. To tip the scales too much is to draw the lady's ire. Perhaps, Candrian. But I have a feeling there's no balancing now that could tip the deeds of my past. The Tooth Woman wanted you to have these. He holds out his hand. She wanted to express her thanks, level out her scales, as it were, and be done with the damn things. He smoothly deposits a small pouch into your palm, and with a wink, enjoy them, Seeker. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a little peace. I hope to see you again. Farewell, Candrian. Back at your table, you empty the contents of the pouch into your hand, and immediately are taken aback by the sight of Ingris's dancing teeth. They begin to clatter in your palm, almost as if they are pleased to see you. Examining them closely, you can't shake their resemblance to ivory bugs. You get the feeling that they are looking at you expectantly, awaiting something. Hey, Mort, take a look at this.
What's the chant, Chief?
You see these teeth?
Ugh.
Huh. He seems morbidly fascinated.
Ugly little burks, ain't they?
Well, what do you think? Reckon you could use them somehow?
Why, unless you've suddenly become a dentist, bar that.
Mort shudders.
Would you want those things in you?
Come on, Mort. They seem to like you.
In case you didn't notice, Chief, these are my teeth we're talking about.
Look at the way they're staring at you.
Those little pikers better not come anywhere near me or I'll...
Mort pauses.
You know, I have no idea how to threaten teeth.
Well, all right. I'm not gonna force... Uh-oh. Something changes in the teeth. They appear almost to sharpen and curl.
What's wrong?
Mort floats in closer to your palm.
Hey, they look vicious. Almost feral, don't they?
They sure do. I don't think that... What happens next is difficult to describe and very painful to watch. Faster than you can close your palm, the teeth hop out of your hand and swarm onto Mort's jaw. Mort howls as Ingris's teeth promptly rip out his and jump into the exposed cavities.
Mort!
Mort continues howling, and the teeth begin to settle in, adjusting themselves and planting their roots with a horrid drilling noise.
Mort, are you okay?
Mort doesn't seem to hear you. He just keeps howling and howling. Then suddenly he starts smashing his teeth together. After 3 powerful bites, the upper and lower teeth lock and prevent him from opening his mouth. Mort mumbles something at you, his eyes wide with panic. Can you open your jaw? At your question, the teeth suddenly unlock, and Mort lets out a relieved sigh.
I will kill you for this! You planned that! I know it!
I'm sorry, I had no idea that could happen. How do they feel? Mort moves his jaw around experimentally.
Odd. I'm not sure. They don't feel bad.
Suddenly, the teeth extend into elongated fangs.
Whoa, they change.
They shrink down to normal, then fangs again, then normal.
Wow. Hey, I think I'm gonna like these.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mort. I really didn't mean you any harm.
Oh, I'll still get you for this.
He grins, his teeth turning into wicked fangs again.
Just you wait.
Okay. I'll add you to the list of people who want to kill me. Let's go. As you begin to leave the bar, you suddenly hear Mort let loose another howl of pain. Oh no. What happened now? You turn to face Mort again, only to see the teeth finish ripping themselves loose from his mouth and leaping back into your hand as Mort, toothless, groans with pain.
I don't know. It seemed like everything was fine for a minute there, and then they ripped themselves out again.
The teeth group themselves in your hand in a way so as to somehow face Mort and clack at him fiercely. I'm thinking they're angry with you, Mort.
Oh, I see. Oh, wait, what? Well, they were mad at me? Why?
Well, you did insult them, remember? Ugly little Burks.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, Chief. Get back.
Oh, wait, you want them now? Can I assume your vow of revenge against me has been tabled? Mort looks annoyed.
Well, it's just... They might be, useful.
Mort tries to ignore your grin.
All right, yes, I retract my vow of hideous revenge against you. You one lucky shot, too, I add. It would be horrifying. Happy? Can I have them back now?
All right, then. Here you go. As you move to hand them back to Mort, the teeth crawl up your arm until they arrive at your shoulder, chittering and occasionally clacking angrily at Mort. I don't think they're going to make this easy. I think you may have to apologize.
I know I didn't hear you right, Chief.
I think they did what they did to make a point, Mort. But now that it's made...
It's times like this I really miss having eyelids so I could close them and count to 10.
He pauses.
All right. Teeth. I'm... No, wait, no, stop that. I can't do it. There's only so much a skull can take. I'm not gonna give an apology to a bunch of ugly, yellow, rotten teeth.
Uh-oh. The teeth chatter with outrage, and their edges turn razor sharp. They begin to line up into formation as if ready to attack. Mort, I'm not kidding anymore. I think these teeth are angry, and I'm not sure how bad it'll be if you piss them off anymore. Mort winces.
Boss, this might be the most humiliating moment of my entire career as a leader.
We all have our torments, Mort. Looks like today this is yours. Well...
All right. Teeth. I'm sorry. Really. You're no uglier than any other enchanted Viscovitz I've ever encountered before. You're as nice a shade of yellow as can really go on, Teeth. And the rotting crack was totally out of line. I hereby tender my apologies and offer to make amends. All right?
Hey, that actually wasn't that bad. The teeth, having smoothed and softened, roll down your arm and into your hand. I think they're satisfied, Mort. Do you want them back?
Fine. Whatever. I mean, yeah, of course I do.
All right. Brace yourself. You hold them up near Mort, and one by one, they jump neatly into his mouth and secure themselves into his jaw. And while still uncomfortable, it seems the process is much less painful this time. Mort clacks the teeth together a few times.
Okay, I think we're good.
Let's get out of here before my ego takes another marlin. Let's. Outside the bar, under the dark haze of Sigel's later hours, the streets take on a new brawling hostility. The Hivers that are still out either furtively hurry towards whatever shelter they call home, or daringly stake their claim to the patch of Sigil they have carved out with dangerous bravado. Keep your wits sharp. It's not safe out here at this time. I know. I'm on my guard. Let's find these dogs and see this done. Balance in all things, even in justice. Penance is really found at the tip of a blade. Despite Dakon's words, you continue your grim search through the umbral alleys, and eventually come to a row of buildings, each covered in graffiti. There's an even mixture of detailed murals and mad wild scrawling plastered over every surface, chaotic, beautiful in some cases, and deeply disturbing. You hear muffled sounds of laughter, singing, screaming and wailing, all joining to a strange cacophony of mortal expression. People of all shapes dance and fight in clusters about the street. One in particular is on all fours, bounding in circles as if chasing an imaginary tail.
Wow, that's a tree with one snap branch too many. No sense swapping the champ with these chaos attacks, Chief. They're a balmy bunch. You do what you gotta do, but words will get you nowhere here.
Chaos attacks?
It's the name of the faction who don't have any rules, except don't keep one thought in their head for too long. They're sometimes called Chaos Men. No need to explain that. They attract members like flies. Any Burke who's done with seeking patterns, or just those turned balmy by the plains, gravitate to the life of chaos.
With no more to it, you stride into the center of the street towards the wild-eyed man, who is now hunched over, barking and howling at the top of his lungs. The swaying of his thick, matted hair reveals a series of tattoos. They run the range from screaming faces and bizarre geometric shapes to what appear to be lines of verse. He is almost naked, but the dirt and filth covering him gives him some semblance of modesty. "Greetings!" The man whirls on you and gives a low growl. Then immediately, his face shifts into a joyous grin as he stands up straight. You think, for a moment, he may even shake your hand. And just as quickly, he starts barking violently at you again. In the distance, you hear numerous yammers and growls in response. "I said, greetings." The man's barking ends with a snarl, and he bares his filed fang-like teeth. "If you're not gonna talk, then come at me, Wolfman." And with that, he barrels into you, gouging his dirty fingernails into your neck. But you were ready, and with his reckless lunge, your blade slides between his ribs. He looses a ragged howl as he slumps, gasping to the cobbles, and the street fills with excited yelps and mournful howls. Several doors fling open, spilling out crooked figures eager for a fight. One twirls her cloak of spined quills in an erratic pirouette and leaps towards you, wicked claw-like blades strapped to her forearms. Dakon steps ahead, glaive at the ready, radiating the bright golden shimmer of his power. The two face each other, trading blows before she swipes at his legs with a well-placed kick, crashing him to the floor. As she drives her claws down for another strike, you thrust your palms forward, and with a thunderous crack, a blast of force throws her back, giving you just enough time to scramble Dakon to his feet. The alley now has erupted in pure chaos. Dozens and dozens have gathered around, fights breaking out amongst them. Roiling mobs of violence and ecstasy.
Chief, this isn't good. What do we do?
Run! Drums and whistles sound through the air as you tear through the streets of the Hive. Wild hooligans trailing behind you in a wake of chaos. It's less as if you're being chased, so much as leading a procession of madness. In the purple night, the blurry faces twist in a wild, murderous glee. Just out of your reach, several balconies stretch above. You risk a leap, grabbing for the overhanging beams as a clawed hand grasps at your calf and rips you to the ground. A face looms into your vision, leering with a maniacal feline grin, the tang of their rotten breath choking you. Immediately, Mort descends upon them, his wicked fangs gnashing with a newfound fury. Blockading the path behind, Dakon holds the alley, wrestling his glaive from the clutches of a bear-sized man. You crash your shoulder into the flank of this brute, flinging him into the cobbles. Drawing a quick sigil into the air, a brilliant sphere erupts from your hand, engulfing the Hulk in chromatic flames. He screams in agony as the smell of burned hair fills the street. Fleeing from the carnage, you skid into a darkened alley, momentarily out of sight. Doors slam shut before you, hatches are bolted. It's a dead end. But one voice calls out in sympathy.
Quickly, in here, before they come this way.
You rush through the threshold, gasping for breath, and listen.
Cause you are winning.
A few tense moments with your back pressed against the doorway, and it seems the mad parade has lost your trail, or lost interest in your pursuit. This woman looks to be in her middle years, streaks of grey running through her hair, lines of worry crisscross her face. You didn't have to let us in. Thank you. Although I'm not sure what would have happened if you hadn't. What's your name?
Deborah.
Her home is modest, pleasant. One large, simple room with a small bed, table, and coal stove. A man lies in the bed, seemingly asleep, oblivious to your presence.
You'd best leave, for you wake me husband. He won't like me having let you into our home.
All right. Just a moment, while we catch our breath. She glances towards her husband, worry in her eyes.
I have not the time, stranger. Do not be troubling me with such things.
Forgive me. Are you all right?
Me?
She seems surprised.
Oh, I.
She lowers her voice.
You'd best leave. Me husband has not been himself of late. You'd best not provoke him with your presence.
What's wrong with him?
He's been out of sorts of late. A touch of the cough, maybe.
She gives an unconvincing half shrug. You know, if you tell me what's wrong, I might be able to help.
I think he's done something that he regrets. I think he signed one of the dead contracts. I cannot imagine what possessed him to do such a foolish thing.
Dead contracts?
The dead, the dustmen, have contracts that give them the right to someone's body after they die. Animate it with their wicked magics, turn it into one of the walking dead, make it a worker till...
She looks to her husband helplessly.
Till it rots away.
Why did your husband sign such a thing?
Well, he may have been goat eager to bring home some more jink than custom. He's prideful, but I think he's hurt himself more by doing so.
Well, your husband won't need his body after death. Is there more to it than this?
But the ghoulishness of the contract aside, it's his nature that's been changed. He's become sullen and dark since doing this signing, and he can't seem to rouse himself to look for honest work. It's like the lady's shadow hangs on him.
She sighs. Can this contract be undone?
I've tried. I've spoken to the dustman he did the signing with, but he's cold and chill, like all the dusties. He even lectured me on me husband as if I had no right to try and help him.
Her lips become a tight, thin line.
He was cold cruel, he was.
Let me see what I can do. Who was this dustman your husband signed the contract with?
The dusty calls himself Gravesend. I know not his first name. He has a table at the Dustman Bar in the Hive. Gathering Dust, I believe the place is named. You can most like find him there, trying to get more people to sign his contracts. Head out to the street outside, go spywards towards the mortuary.
She taps her finger against her chin.
You should run right into it. There's one of them...
Her face wrinkles in disgust.
Walking corpses out front.
Thank you, I know the way. And I think I know who you mean. I'll go see what I can do.
I won't turn away such a friendly gesture.
She seems grateful. Then her worried expression returns.
But I must ask that you not let out that I asked you to do such a thing. My husband has a terrible temper. And if he were to find out...
She shudders. I promise that your husband will not find out.
Thank you, stranger. I appreciate your help.
The streets have all but calmed, aside from a few distant howls and shrieks. It would seem you can traverse the Hive in relative safety for now. It must be quite late, an hour or so before anti-peak, and the gathering dust bar, for all its grimness, still shows signs of life. The same morbid corpse is stood vacant by the entrance. Mordai Gravesend. At your voice, the dutiful zombie flings an arm towards the door, almost smashing into the wall behind it. Thank you. And with a courteous nod, you enter. Inside, it is much the same as the last time. Huddles of dustmen served by the undead, muttering in their myriad languages. You lean against the green stone of the bar, and recoil in an instant, leaving behind a scrap of bloody skin frozen against its surface. A zombie turns her attention to the three of you, her burlap vest covered in food and wine stains.
Hello, deadly and delicious. I don't need to cast a spell to know what you want.
Quit it, Mort.
How's about a fortnight fling around the mausoleum?
Keep this up and I'm gonna fling you somewhere, alright? You slap 3 copper coins onto the slab and point at one of the mysterious jars lining the wall. The zombie jerks towards the back bar and fills a small glass with a dram of clear liquid. It must be extremely potent, as the eye-stinging fumes burn you before the glass even touches your lips. The taste is like licorice mixed with lamp oil, but it does at least cover the smell of vinegar and dirty bandages that permeates the bar.
Ah, traveler.
You swivel, a little heady from the shot, and Mortai smiles as he sees you.
We meet again. And what brings you here on this fine Sigillian night?
He looks hopeful.
Come to sign the contract, perhaps?
Had you signed that dead contract with Angyar? He looks puzzled.
Mayhap. I do not recall the name, however.
Nonetheless, might you have that contract with you? Mortai frowns, then looks into the folds of his robes.
Well, I do not normally keep the documents with me, but it may be that...
He pulls forth a sheaf of papers from within his robes and begins leafing through the documents.
No, I don't have it on me. Would you like me to fetch it from one of the back rooms?
You keep many contracts here in the establishment.
Until they are shipped to the mortuary, yes. I've signed many contracts in my life, many contracts, including my own. Such a trouble to haul them all to the mortuary.
I would like to settle the contract you made with Angyar.
I'm afraid that is impossible. The contract is signed, settled, and binding.
The contract is tearing this man's life apart. It is causing him distress. It is possible that he may not even be able to approach the true death with such emotions churning in his mind. Mortai chews it over for a moment, his usual fidgeting more erratic than ever.
I cannot. It is a matter of law, my friend. Besides, the burden lies upon the signer to overcome his feelings in order to reach the true death. I cannot have...
So what you're saying is that you'll deny him the true death for the sake of a piece of parchment. Mortai sighs and holds up his hands as if to placate you.
Look, it is not how you are making it out to be.
You obviously hold the philosophy of the Dustman in contempt to damn a man's soul over a piece of paper. Do other members of your faction know of your conduct in this regard? If not, they soon will. Mortai glares at you for a moment, opens his mouth, closes it, then opens it.
By the 9 hells, wait here and keep your bone box latched.
He gives an angry scowl and stomps off. A few seconds later, he returns, holding a dusty piece of parchment.
Here, all for a man's peace of mind. Now be gone and nettle me no longer with your preachings.
I'll leave, for now. Farewell, Mordai. It's too late now to head back with Angyar's contract, and so you spend the night back at Arlo's. He barely looks up as he waves you to the empty cots. The next day, on the way back to the Hive's hovel, you pass the memorial. The black stone obelisk pierces the pale morning sky like a fang, glistening in the grey drizzle. Sevtai kneels at the memorial walls, her hair bedraggled, the damp from the pavement soaking into her morning gown. She raises her face as you approach, a fresh mask of paint covering her bruises.
You survived. I heard rumors from last night of a flaming skull flanked by ancient guardians leading a riot near the Madhouse district. The doers of such things appear not to be undone.
Sevtai leans to the side and casts her eye towards Dakon and Mort, waiting outside the cloistered square.
I trust this means you have news for Sevtai.
The deed is done. I found the starved dogs barking, and penned 3 of them in the dead book.
The powers be not blind in their justice this day.
She unhooks a serpentine earring from her ear.
Here you are. A pretty bit it should fetch. 'Tis worth thrice 33 coppers to the right buyer, I'm sure. It belonged to one of my sisters, but she won't be needing it anymore.
Very well. Farewell, Sevtai.
Farewell, scarred man.
All that remains of last night's riot is a broken signpost and the shattered glass that decorates the street outside Deborah and her husband's door. You rap your knuckles against the frame and see Deborah's face fill with hope as she opens it to greet you.
Were you able?
Yes, I was able to get the contract from Mordai. Here it is. She looks relieved, and her eyes become misty.
Oh, by the powers, you must be a dever in disguise to do such a thing for someone you barely know. Nay, if you could show me husband the contract, say that you got it for him, but don't say how. I'd appreciate it.
Very well. I'll show it to him then. Inside, you see Angyar eating at his table. He looks haunted. His eyes are half-lidded, as if he has had trouble sleeping, and his hair is long and unkempt. His beard is flecked with dead skin and old bits of food. He doesn't seem to notice you as you approach. Greetings. The man glances up at the sound of your voice, and his slack expression vanishes. It looks like someone has lit 2 fires in his eyes.
Hey, what be your business barging into me house?
His eyes narrow and his teeth clench.
Get, or I'll send you back to whatever grave you crawled from.
Without a word, you show him his Dustman contract. The blood immediately drains out of Angyar's face. For a moment, he seems at a loss for words. Then his temper quickly resurfaces.
Where did you get that? By the powers, you'd best tell me.
You tear up the contract right in front of his face. He stops, completely silent, and his eyes follow the scraps of paper as they float to the ground. He shudders, shaking off a numbness, then straightens, as if a great weight was lifted from him.
I must have prayed to the right powers this past half month. Yeah.
He looks like he is about to thank you, then stops and stares at you suspiciously.
Nothing's free. Not in the Hive, Cutter.
Consider this free. And expect a lot of rules in the Hive to change while I'm around. His expression crumbles. He looks tired of fighting his good fortune.
You have me thanks, Cutter. For whatever that's worth.
It's worth a great deal to me. Take care, Angyar. Day 5, hour 3 before peak. I found Ingress and told her of Candrian, and it seems he managed to return her to a home plane. He also warned me against disturbing the balance here in Sigil, though I feel it would only serve to address the balance of my past. At the smoldering corpse, Drusilla told me about her lover, the being trapped and burning at the entrance. She claimed that he foresaw my arrival and my role in freeing him. Am I responsible for his fate also? There are too many questions I have about my past. I need to look towards my future. I need to decide how to live now. Thank you for listening to Planescape Torment, the unofficial audio series, a RevocerGM production. To support the show and those involved, please consider subscribing to our Patreon or donating via our Ko-fi page. Links to both are in the description.